Let's speak to Conservative MP for Grantham and Stamford, Gareth Davies, with us this morning. Have you got a ministership?
Shadow ministership,
yes.
Not yet.
OK. What do you fancy?
We've got a shadow cabinet in place, but I believe it's...
I'm sure you'll get the call. Did you see the GDP figures? What did you make of them?
It's pretty good. Exceeded expectations. This builds, of course, on the first quarter of the year, which was the fastest growth in the G7. It shows that, as we were saying when we were in government, that we turned a corner, inflation back down to 2%, real wages rising above inflation for 11 months in a row, and growth starting to come back to our economy because of that inflation coming down. And so we're very optimistic in my party that that growth will continue, but it's on the Labour government to take that forward now and not screw it up.
So why did he call the election early?
Well, there's a number of factors as to why the Prime Minister would want to call an election, but the economy is just one factor. But I'm very proud of my time in the Treasury, the measures that we put in place, that the OBR at the time of fiscal events made clear would add to economic growth. That's now coming through, and we're seeing the fact that we've handed this Labour government a pretty solid economy, which is back on track, turned a corner, and going forward with growth.
You concede that you went too soon?
I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying we've performed well on the economy and we're handed...
It was a question as opposed to a statement. You did go too soon though, didn't you?
That's for others to assess and reflect. I think there are other factors that the Prime Minister will have considered in addition to a strong economy as to why he goes in July and not in other months. But it was going to be this year at some point, wasn't it? So.
It could have been January of next year, as we know. What's going to go on with who's going to lead the party? Who's your favourite?
So Rishi's going to stay as, leader
for now.
For now, and that allows us some time to get this right. It's important that we reflect on why we lost millions of voters at the last election. We need to rebuild trust. We need to unite, and it's important that we take time. We haven't had a leadership election for 20 years in opposition, and so I think it's perfectly right that we take time to consider all the candidates who will put forward a view as to how we go forward and rebuild that trust. And it's for people like me to support whoever I believe can do the best job for us.
Apparently Kemi Badenoch is odds-on favourite.
Well, we'll see who announces. Nobody's announced yet, but when they do...
They may as well have done.
When they do, we'll obviously consider that.
Yeah, what do you think?
I don't know what's going to happen. I think we will wait the 1922 committee guidance on how the election will be run and the timing of it, and then it's for candidates to put themselves forward, put forward a plan as to how we rebuild that trust, how we form an effective and professional opposition. It's right that we do that, by the way, because millions of people didn't vote for the Labour Party. Millions of people did still vote for us. And so on behalf of them, we have to push this Labour government, who we believe are trying to roll the pitch to raise taxes.
You need to sort out who the new leader is.
So we do, but again, it's important, at the start of this Parliament, we take our time, get this right, because I believe we can snap back. I think we can hold this government to account effectively, and I think we can be back in government quicker than maybe some people think we can. And so it is right that we take time, and I'll be watching that very carefully.
If Rishi Sunak said, you know what, I'm going to have another go, would you support him?
I don't think that's likely to happen, so I'm not going to deal with hypotheticals like that, no matter how unlikely.
OK, on a serious note, talk to me about what happened in Bushey yesterday. Honestly, I just can't get over what happened and the terror that those women must have felt in the moments before they died. What should happen about laws when it comes to crossbows?
Well, you're right. It's absolutely tragic and horrific to hear the details of what unfolded. Obviously, there's an investigation going on, and I can't comment on the specifics of that investigation.
Nobody's been arrested.
So it wouldn't be appropriate to do that. But on your point around crossbows, while incidents are quite rare, as I understand it, involving crossbows, obviously, when something like this happens, it's important that we reflect and review the laws. And actually, just before we left government, we did launch a consultation specifically on crossbows to make sure that we keep this law under review. And I would encourage the new government to do the same and to review this.
Under what circumstances could you possibly have a requirement for a crossbow?
Well, this is something we need to look at. As I say, cases involving violent offences with crossbows are rare, but obviously when they do happen, it's devastating. And so, as I say, we launched a consultation before we left office, and I've encouraged the new government to look at this in light of the events yesterday.
Yeah. Reform. What are you going to do about reform? A poll suggesting that half of grassroots members are in favour of merging with Reform.
So Reform, clearly a relatively new party, but took votes from the Conservative Party.
In significant numbers.
And enabled a Labour government who will increase taxes and increase immigration. So they've enabled that Labour government to come in. Of course it's democracy, but we need, as I said at the beginning of this interview, to ensure that we rebuild trust with the British public, those people that left us at this election. And they didn't just go to Reform. We lost voters to other parties as well,
Answer my
like
question.
the Liberal Democrats. And so we need to look forward as to how, one, we need to reflect on how we lost the trust and how we lost those voters in the first place, and then have a plan, not just to form an effective government, but to rebuild the trust and win those voters back. I'm confident that we can do that.
OK, my question is, are they a party that you could do business with and potentially even merge with?
Well, look, they have enabled a Labour government and they've prevented dozens of Conservative members of Parliament from coming back to help reduce taxation and reduce immigration. And so any party that has an affront to conservatism is not a party that I think we should bring in.
So no is the answer.
Well, they've actively tried to destroy the Conservative Party. They've actively tried to prevent and have executed
You had a good go at it.
a policy which has enabled many of my colleagues who are true Conservatives to enter Parliament and to be in government. And so that's not something I think we should entertain.
Let's end on an up. Are you a football fan?
I am, yes.
Did you watch the game?
I did, yes. I mean, obviously, it's fantastic.
Yes.
Watching...
Feels like there's a bot coming. There's no bot.
No, it is. Obviously, it's fantastic. As an England fan, obviously, it's a bit of a roller coaster, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we enter Sunday now with tremendous hope. I think we're going to win it. But, we've got to all get behind the team and Gareth Southgate.
Was it a penalty?
I think it was a penalty.
It wasn't a penalty. It was not a penalty. We were lucky.
We won the game, and I'm absolutely delighted about it.
Fair and square. OK, it's good to see you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
very much indeed. Thank you.